morning. The November 13th, 2023 work session of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. Welcome, citizens of Douglas County. County Clerk, please take the roll for the record.
Yes, sir. We have District 1 Commissioner Ricky Dobbs.
He's here.
Present online.
He's kind of here.
District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Madam Clerk, present.
District 3 Vice Chair Commissioner Torinia Cobbs. I'm sorry, Torinia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda? Being none, the agenda stands as approved. As a reminder, each commissioner will have 3 minutes to make his remarks and 2 minutes for rebuttal. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
We did, Chairman. We had 2 individuals sign in. And before I call you up, I'll just remind you that you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are up, we'll ask you to wrap up your comments. And when you reach the podium, please restate your name and your subject matter and speak directly into the mic. The first individual that signed in is Kelly Talbot.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Kelly Talbot. I live on Lisa Court in Douglasville, and I would like to speak about the proposed 2024 budget. I would like to recommend that the board consider hiring an internal auditor. There are multiple benefits to having one. 2 benefits that immediately come to mind are as follows. 1, they can assist with many aspects of the external audit and thereby lower the total cost of that external audit. Also, they can identify inefficiencies and make recommendations for improvement. Looking at the budget by department, it is concerning that the coroner and probate departments are so heavily staffed. I urge the board to take a closer look at the true necessity of all these assistants and staff people. Neighboring counties with larger populations are functioning efficiently with lower budgets in each of these departments. I respectfully request that you, as stewards of our tax dollars, reevaluate the departmental budgets of the coroner and probate offices. Next, I'd like to share concerns from citizens that are shared with me through various social media platforms. Many citizens are still speaking out about the project cost overrun on the Punkintown recreational area. Additionally, with all this excessive development, the local traffic is an ongoing headache for many. It's going to get worse as all this development manifests. Lastly, citizens fear future tax increases, which could force many out of their homes. I can't get out of my mind that elderly farmer that was up here a couple months ago. He was so sincere pleading for no more tax increases because he was on the verge of being driven off his farm. And that right there is a salt to the earth, and I just hold that to heart, and I hope that you do too. And I thank you very, very much for listening to me and listening to the concerns of the public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next citizen is Rodney Butler.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Rod Butler, and I am a 14-year resident of District 3. I'm going to talk this morning about a couple of items from item 16 and one from 17. Item 16, attorney fees. No one would hold office if they did not have protection against frivolous lawsuits. The county should be consistent about when and whose legal fees are covered. It is consistent with the state code OCGA 45-9-21. The next item from 16, vacancies on the Board of Commission. This policy should have been enacted long ago. State code specifically states that local legislation such as this will take precedence over the state policies and procedures. We should maintain control over our commission no matter which party is in the majority in the state or the county. The provisions in the policy are consistent with state law. Item 17, the attendance policy for commissioners. We expect those who represent us to be present and engage. This should apply equally to all commissioners at all times. This type of policy should have always been in place. Not a precedent-setting policy. Other counties, such as Fulton, have long had such a policy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No more citizen comments, Chairman.
We have David Good, or Mr. David Good, with us this morning to present a 2016 SPLOST update. Mr. Good?
Thank you, Chairman. It seems like it's frozen. Let me see if I can. So, yeah, so I'm just waiting for it to become unfrozen. But again, I'm David Good. I represented 2016 SPLOST. Thank you, Chairman, Board of Commissioners, Administration. All right, let me start again. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is David Good. I'm here to talk about just the 2016 SPLOST updates, all of our projects that were finished in the month of October, as well as expenses within October. This is our agenda. Again, we'll talk about our expenses, the projects that's been completed in the month of October, as well as major activities that were done in our 3 category areas of fire, EMS, transportation, and parks. Right now, of course, the total revenues that we received between April 1st of 2017 and March 31st of 2023 were $121.9 million. We have expensed out $91.9 million, and we have about $30 million left for the 21 active projects. And we've had 86 completed projects, and also in the month of October, we expensed $1,647,420. Next up, these are the completed projects. We received in the new pumper truck that's going to go to fire station number 9. That was at a cost of $963,000, and we took on delivery of it last month. Also, we have completed, I know it's been a long time coming, is the Stewart Mill at Reynolds Road. That project is substantially completed. It was one of our projects that was started back in 2017, was one of our first projects, and that one is completed at a cost of $2.1 million. And it's open to traffic, and I was out there the day before yesterday, and it's a very nice project for the citizens. We also have the 2023 resurfacing. We actually, the SPLOST put in about $1 million, a little bit over $1 million, and the total cost was $2.4 million. And then finally is the dog park at Clinton Nature Preserve. The project is complete and open to the public at a cost of $62,000. And right here, you will see both the pumper truck and then also Stewart Mill at Reynolds Road. And if you can see, that's where you'll see the new turn lane. Also, we have Independence Drive off of Cedar Mountain Road that was paved, and then also you're seeing the dog park at Clinton Nature Preserve. The ones that we have on activity right now, of course, is Fire Station number 9. It was re-advertised, and those bids will be coming in on next Monday. Also, we have the burn tower at the fire training complex, integrated construction. They were awarded the contract at their last meeting. We are just, they're going to do the demolition as well as they're going to do the foundation for the fabricated burn tower. So they're going to be demolishing the old burn tower to make room for the new burn tower. And then finally, the sidewalks at New Manchester, a local group, a veteran-owned, since we talk about veterans. Thank you all for your service. Corbett Group is a local MBE and veteran company out here in Douglas County. And they were awarded a bid also at the last meeting. And they're going to do both the installation of the sidewalk and then a traffic signal for people to walk across, be able to make it across 92, to head down to Boundary Waters. Also, we have the current Lee Road widening phase 2. If anybody's been throughout the county, you can see everything that's happening at Lee Road. So from Monier south to 92 on Lee Road, we're doing the widening. Right now, we're in the utility phase, but the paving and all those things are going on as far as the widening. The utility work, of course, is going to continue, and CMS is also another MBE that we have out here. And then finally are the conceptual plans over at Deer Lick and at Winston. That was at a cost of $32,000. Los Design, they completed the probable cost for this one and the conceptual plans for each park. We just need final approval from the county. Right here are actually the projects to be completed. This is in fire EMS. As I mentioned earlier, we have both fire station number 9 and the burn tower. We also have upgrades at fire station number 11. We have vehicle equipment procurement, and then also an ambulance. Also, now we have into transportation, which of course represents 51%, so they're the only one that represents more than half of the 2016 SPLOS. Now we have the Highway 5 turn lane. That's if you're going on going towards Douglas Boulevard, going towards the mall. So if you're going up on 5, you're going towards the freeway, and you're going to make a right turn lane going towards the mall. We also have New Manchester High School, as I mentioned earlier, in the Lee Road widening. We also have safety projects, which is the Greystone lighting throughout the county. We have the design, just the design of the Lee Road, of the Chapel Hill widening, and that's sectional. We also have for the grant safety, so anytime that we have a grant, we have to have a matching transportation. There are SPOS dollars going towards that. And then we have 6 intersection improvement for design engineering. And then finally, in Parks and Rec, we have Deer Lick Park and Winston conceptual plans, as mentioned earlier. We have playground sets that are being installed at 4 parks. I believe we just have one more installation to go. And we have the new scoreboards at 3 of the parks and the Deer Lick Gym floor replacement. And with that, I'll take any questions. And we have Terry Gable from Atlas also to help any questions as well as staff. Thank you. And I turn back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Any comments? Vice Chair Carthen.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Good. Can you tell us, I'm going to go backwards, so the playground set installation at the 4 parks, can you tell us where we are with those?
Oh, sure. I'm going to bring up Terry Gable to go into a little bit more detail. Mr. Gable.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Board. Terry Gable. Yes, so the Fair Play Park is completed.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Arp has the main playground installed and completed. The only thing left there is the swings. We had to separate the two because of the limited amount of space at that park.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only thing left there, and the location of that is going to go back where the old playground used to be. So we're demoing that.
How long do you anticipate that would take?
It's everything is in. We're waiting on some demo work to be completed there. The contractor's ready. They've been ready to do the installation. It's just got to be demoed there at the park, and the county's doing that work.
Okay, so that's being done in-house, not by the
Yes,
contractor?
that's been done in-house. And the same thing at at Deer Lick, it's completed. Deer Lick's completed. Woodrow, the last one, we're having to do some additional grading there. So, but all the equipment's in now, and it's just a matter of we're having to procure the work at Woodrow. County's doing that. We're doing that separately. It's just a small amount of grading that needs to be done there for that pad. And then that work can be done. And we're in the process of actually right now of running that through purchasing to get that finalized, the contract for that. So
That would be on state contract procurement?
we actually took bids on that. It was below. We were able to take 3 bids on
Okay.
that. It's below $10,000.
Okay.
So it's kind of little bits and pieces left right now.
Okay. And my next question for you is in regards to the design of Chapel Hill, the road widening. Where are we in terms of that?
So the design is completed on it, and it's in the right-of-way phase.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just getting started. Last time I talked to Director Suleiman, we've been anticipating with the amount of right-of-way on that road, it's comparable to Lee Road, about a year to acquire the right-of-way. But pretty much in 2024, you're going to see mostly right-of-way going on
Okay.
once it starts. So that's driving it right now. The construction's being funded, and I believe we're able to get that. That's on the 2022 SPLOST. But the right-of-way and the design is being funded with 2016. So we get it to that point, get the right-of-way purchased, and they're ready to go to construction as soon as the right-of-way's purchased.
And the New Manchester High School sidewalk, where are we in terms of that?
Just waiting on a contract to be signed
Okay.
with Corbett, and they'll start as soon as they get it.
And that would take how long?
I think typically those sidewalks, now the difficult thing with this one is going into winter.
Right.
It may impact it, but they've been about 5 months. They've been able to get the sidewalk projects done. This has probably got a bigger scope than any of the little sidewalk projects we've done.
Mm-hmm. Because this is both sides of the.
We have sidewalk on one side leading from the north side of 92, north of the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Then it switches over at the pedestrian traffic signal, switches over to the left side, same side, the boundary water zone, then it goes down to boundary waters. But as soon as we get the contract, they'll be ready to go to work.
Sounds good. And then you talked about the burn tower. Our station number 9. It is coming up.
Yes. So, yeah, we're looking for some good bids in
Okay.
on Monday.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah.
I think that's all for me. I'll turn it back over. Thank you so much. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Robinson?
Monday morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right, so let's get into this. All right, so the SPLOS, what I heard you say is what, we got $30 million left over in 21 projects?
Yes,
Repeat
sir.
that again, let's back
Yes.
up.
Yes, we have $30 million left for 21 active projects.
All right, so I want to acknowledge citizens' comments. We thank you for taxing yourselves by passage of a referendum. I never want to get outside of what I do from the citizens' expectations. So back in 2016, to David Good's point, and thank you guys for your technical communication over these past 60 months. It's been excellent. Straight transparency. Straight, here's our money. So here we are, 51% was going to transportation, you got Parks and Rec, and you got the rest is, the fire and EMS. Accountability. Not hidden, straightforward. I like the comment of the internal auditor. Oh, I love that. Not just the probate, not just the coroner. I like to look at legal, administration, procurement, across the board. Let's be consistent. Let's look at how we really do things. I would have loved to look back across the probate, right? Historically, but you have obstruction. What I appreciate about you guys is the transparency. No sleight of hand. Thank you. So my question, I got it, duly noted, fire station, right, another thing came out of my citizens' voices. That's what being elected is about, represent their interests. So when is that station coming online? Well, I won't ever see it come to pass. I still gotta advocate for it. So when will it come to pass, David?
Yes, and we're anticipating that once the contract has been let for construction, it'll be about a year. So we're looking at towards the end of 2024. Am I right about that? Yes.
2024, all right, got
Yes,
it.
sir.
We'll move on. Lee Road. So again, that's important. Back to traffic. I get it. What have they been doing for 30 years that we just now is hitting? We own it. We gotta fix it. Got it. So now we got this east-west connected that's gonna go all the way from Veterans, all the way across, hopefully some point, Chapel Hill, all the way back up and around. Is that correct, gentlemen? Our southern arc, is that true?
Yes, and we also do have Director Suleiman here to speak on anything that's outside of my.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. I'm just surface. I gotta keep this moving. I got a lot to say today. So duly noted, you got that going. Citizens, sorry for the inconvenience, but that's work. Tie back. It ain't about the internal what's going on. It's about how it ties back to you. All right, Lee Road, and yes, I appreciate that, obviously, the Parks and Rec. Thank you to the committee that helped that, but, you know, again, that sidewalks on 92. One more time, we want sidewalks on Lee Road, don't we? We get it on one side, don't we, David? Are we getting sidewalks on Lee Road, Terry?
Yes.
All right, sidewalks, that's important. You gotta separate people from cars. I got a lot of congestion on the east side. That's thoughtful. It's like, okay, and then we got kids that gotta get across the school. I got a mega park, 500 acres, 10 different sports, and a high school. One of the best schools in the system. Big community, my biggest. How we gonna make them safe passage? That's thoughtful governance. That was intentional. And I appreciate the work you guys have done. That's all I gotta say. My time should be about up by now. Thank you, Lisa, for the extra seconds. Mr. Chair, I'm gonna yield now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Chairman. And also, this will be our last presentation as our contract is ending at the end of the year. So I just wanted to express that. And thank you all for you guys' belief in what we've been doing for the 2016 SPLOST program. Thank you.
You. Next on the agenda is the meeting minutes. Commissioners, please review the minutes before tomorrow's meeting. And next, we have the financial report for October will be presented to the Finance Committee later today. Please prepare to accept the report during tomorrow's commission meetings. We have two proclamations presented tomorrow, proclamating the week of November 16th through the 23rd of 2023 as Farm City Week, and proclaiming the month of November 2023 as American Indian Heritage Month. We will have a public hearing tomorrow on an amendment to the Douglas County Code of Ordinances regarding Chapter 6, Buildings, Construction and Related Activities, Article 7, Plumbing Code, Section 6-80. James Worthington will present during tomorrow's meeting. We have another public hearing tomorrow regarding the 2024 budget. Rosalind Miller will present the prior budget, present prior to the hearing from the public. The county administrator, do you have any business to come before the board?
No, sir, no new business.
All right, we'll take up our agenda items.
Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry?
May I?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
All right, real quick, just real quick, I wanted to just one of our prior comment about both the budget and the financial report is going to be submitted tomorrow or today and tomorrow, whatever. My question is, and I'd like for the board to be, I need the administration to be prepared to tell the board, where are we with our audit? Not get, we about to approve, you're asking the Board of Commissioners to approve a new budget for 2024. Where do we stand with Mike 22? Back to auditing. Oh boy. Now how's this getting away from us? Why is this not aligned? think about what you're really asking us to do as district commissioner. Mr. Chair, I'm with you on this now, follow me. Now, you're asking me to approve a budget for the future, but there's been no accountability since, where my audit? Now you gotta come holler at us. This is what I'm talking about. And this is serious. You talking about, okay, what are y'all hiding? What is the problem? Me as chair, I haven't talked to my administrator in 6 months. I haven't had no visibility. Where's the audit? And it's killing me, like, okay, y'all gonna come clean or what? And so I'm setting the stage like, okay, I'll wait for it. Because I took an oath. I did take it serious. I'm trying to help. This is my job. Not necessarily, here I got you to help the whole group. Like, all right, y'all better pay attention to this. Don't let them get away with this. Or unless you're complicit with it, know what you're looking at. Look how this thing fits together. And I'm like, oh God, look what y'all doing. It's just so benign, so smooth. Like, guys, I can't let y'all get out here like this. But then it's on me because I knew better. So I owe y'all that. I knew better. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Made my point, Mr. Chair. We're gonna have to do it now, but there needs to be a kind of, where's our audit? Why is that before us already? And again, I've got a finance committee. I'll deal with it later. I'm sure you'll talk offline, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? We will now begin with the agenda items. Clerk, please begin with the first agenda item.
Yes, sir. We have number 8, authorization to approve an annual contract with Judicial Alternatives of Georgia, Inc. for misdemeanor probation services for state court, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Judge Barker is here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. It's an honor to stand before you again this morning. I will point out, Chairman Miller, that if you'll look, the next item is also for the Superior Court. I will tell the commission that Chief Judge William McLean has authorized me to also present it's the same contract basically for Superior Court. JAG Probation provides the same services in both of our courts, and he's authorized me to approve on his behalf as well today. We've been using Judicial Alternatives Probation for over 6 years now. They do a really good job of supervising the folks that are placed on probation in both our courts for misdemeanor offenses. They do not supervise, obviously, people put on felony probation. It's the state that handles that. They are responsible for overseeing those offenders, collecting whatever fees that they might be required to pay to both the county as well as the fee to probation. Also ensuring that the offenders comply with other special conditions of probation, that they are, a lot of them are mandated by law, whether it's performance of community service, completing driving education school, things of that nature, doing family violence intervention programs, as a lot of our offenders have to comply with those or mandates from the state, and they're responsible for the daily oversight of all of our offenders that have been sentenced to probation. And the same holds true for those that there are a number of folks in Superior Court that do plead their cases down to misdemeanors, and so JAG Probation supervises those offenders.
Comments? Commissioner Robinson.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioner
How are
Robinson.
you? All right. Just again, I appreciate. Obviously, you've got judicial and you've got public safety in the chair. So just a little context. So remind us now. This is JAG. You and I had an experience with a prior organization called the Sentinel, and with that was the prior probation overseer. And the Board of Commissioners had to subsidize the private company because there was some state law they changed dealing with indigent, what was it, indigent pauper. We had to fund this. We don't have that same situation here, do we, sir?
Sir, we haven't had that for a number of years now.
Okay, but historical context is important, so we've gotten better, right? We've gotten better?
Sir.
All right. So in addition to that, you talked about some of the services. I was listening to you, but I wanted to make sure, because when a person's on probation, the firm, though they create the atmosphere, do they actually do the intervention stuff like, I don't know, go get a high school, or what is it they actually do? Or is they just like, do you check in and check out? I'm supposed to, what does that mean to go to probation?
So,
For the record, for the people.
right, sure.
Respectfully.
So I'll use community service, for example.
Yes, sir.
They have probation has a list of approved places. You can't just go anywhere and do community service. And we allow offenders to try to pick their own location that's convenient for them, maybe convenient to work or their work schedule or something like that. And they can go find something, and if it's not on the list already, then they'll vet that location and make sure it's okay. We don't want people to say, hey, I did 40 hours and somebody just signed a piece of paper and they didn't do anything. So they're responsible for doing things like that. Also, many offenders, as I mentioned, are required to do either DUI school or certified family violence intervention counseling. And there are obviously state-approved vendors for those. And so they have to make sure that the people that they have on probation are going to approved locations, and they have to manage getting them there. They have to manage when they're completed getting the paperwork and assuring that it's accurate, that they are meeting the requirements of the sentence. As judges, we impose a sentence, and we expect it to be followed and complied with. If individuals do not, after a certain period of time are not complying, they're either not showing up or not doing the mandated portions of their sentences, then it's up to JAG to bring them back in front of us for us to see what's going on. Why aren't you being able to meet the conditions? So they do have to monitor that. They're not really providing any of the services. They don't provide counseling or allow people to do community service. They're not doing that. Their job is strictly to monitor and assist the offenders in finding the locations and getting to the places that they need to be and getting the conditions met that the court has imposed on them to meet, whether it's something that we've added or it's something that's mandated by law.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly, you made a clear distinction. So it's just monitoring. So does monitoring include, you could, like, is it ankle bracelets, the guys that are out there, house arrest, or just straight parole? I can come and go from work. Like, distinguish, what's the difference between?
It can include monitoring, whether it's a GPS monitor or something like that. We have, in our court, we have very few offenders that are requiring something like that. We might have one or two a year.
Yes, sir.
That we have to put a GPS. I can't speak to the numbers in Superior Court. They might have a few more, but I can't imagine if they're reducing their charges from felony to misdemeanor Superior Court, they're gonna then also do that. But it's very rare in our court that we do that. I'm sure there's a lot of felons. I know in the accountability courts, Judge McLean has, and y'all are aware of that, the GPS monitors that we're using on offenders to get them out of jail quicker so that we can get them into treatment while the DA's office is still deciding what the actual resolution of their case should be. And so there are being used, but that's a different company that deals with that situation.
All right, that's good. I'm going to keep with my last question. I want to get 3 today. Is dealing with, back to the point, since the operative word today is audit. Do you guys have to report up to the state agencies, or do they have to report?
They do.
How does it work?
Yes.
Them to you, or them up to there?
No, they get audited by the state. Even private probation contractors are overseen by the state, and they do get an annual audit, and they provide us the results of that every year.
Awesome. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Judge.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, yield, sir.
Thank you. Vice Chair Carson?
Thank you. Judge Barker, can you talk to us a little bit about this contract in terms of the compensation of the probation officer? Is that amount of the probation officer's salary the same, or did it go up from last year's contract?
So that is, you're talking about to Mr. Gonzalez, the probation officer, to the accountability court?
to JAG.
JAG.
This is about JAG.
Right.
Yeah.
That deals with Mr. Gonzalez, and what it is it was I think it represents a 5% increase. If you're familiar with this, what we do is Mr. Gonzalez works with the accountability court. We have a probation officer as part of that. We're mandated by the state to do that. The issue is you have to be a probation officer, you have to be certified by the state.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a probation office as part of the accountability court, so we basically lease or rent a probation officer through JAG because he gets his training and his hours through them. Technically, they provide him to us as a service through the contract so that he can maintain his certification, serve as a probation officer. That's the reason why we contract with them specifically, and that's what that officer is for, working, overseeing our people that are all on probation program.
Okay, so technically, Mr. Gonzalez is not an employee of the county. He's an employee of JAG.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the compensation that the county gives to JAG, then they in turn pay him.
Yes.
Okay, and so the compensation also includes his medical, dental, and vision that we pay per month
Right.
to them for that. And tell me why we don't have a probation officer again in
Well,
a county this size?
Well, we don't have an in-house probation department. You would have to have a whole department do that. It's several years, but the time we hired JAG, when the Sentinel issue was going on that Commissioner Robinson mentioned, Judge Detmering and I looked at possibly bringing probation in-house to have it as a county office, and we determined that the cost and expense of that would be a lot more than doing the contract. We don't have to, for example, we don't have to provide a building. We don't have all these people as employees of the county. And we just felt like it would be better. So we tried it with this company several years ago with the thought that if it didn't work out, we may just have to bring it in-house. But this company has done a really good job with the probation over the years. So that's why we don't have in-house probation office, because of that situation from a number of years ago. And it's more cost effective to do it this way.
And so this probation officer he does your court and Superior Court
No,
probation? No.
he does my court and Judge Fortner's.
And Judge Fortner's court?
Yes.
Okay. I done gave Judge Fortner,
Forgot
I've
about it.
elevated him.
Yes, ma'am. He'll appreciate that. Maybe.
He would make a great Superior Court.
He would.
He would. I agree. Okay, so we have, this contract is only for 40 hours. He has yours, he has Judge Fortner, and then I think you said the next one is also, so that's for both of you all, the state court, for your state court and for Judge Fortner's state court.
Yes.
Okay, and Judge McLean is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, fair enough, you explained it. I yield.
Anytime.
Anyone else? All right, well, you covered 9, or did you cover 9?
Yes, I think if y'all had any questions about Judge McLean's as well, it's basically the same contract.
I think we're good, Judge. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Clerk?
Number 10, a resolution urging the Governor and General Assembly of Georgia to continue efforts to reform and improve mental health services for citizens of Georgia. Michaela Tappan.
Morning.
Morning. Hello, Board of Commissioners. My name is Michaela Tappan. I am the Intergovernmental Services Coordinator for Douglas County. I'm here today to speak to you about mental health reform and House Bill 520. As you may know, we are currently experiencing a mental health pandemic. I would like to read to you 2 bills that have emerged to combat this issue. The first is House Bill 1013. It addresses mental health reform by establishing mental health care parity by private and public insurers, mental health care workforce incentives, procedural reform for law enforcement officers dealing with mentally ill persons, collaboration and information sharing amongst state agencies, jail diversion programs, and more. Furthermore, this bill also includes mental health courts as eligible for funding under the County Drug Abuse Treatment and Education Fund. It was passed by the General Assembly and signed into law in 2022. The next is House Bill 520. It addresses mental health care reform by preventing housing discrimination of mentally ill persons or substance abusers, court procedure reform, providing behavioral health coordinators to counties, establishing uniform mental health screenings in jails, studying workforce solutions, reviewing licensure procedures, and more. It aims to help familiar faces, people who cycle between homelessness, emergency rooms, and jail. House Bill 520 is currently pending in the Georgia Senate. ACCG is urging Georgia counties to support this bill to continue advocating for the betterment of statewide mental health services. Appropriate state policies and adequate funding are needed for counties to properly address the magnitude of this challenge. I now yield for questions.
Questions, anyone? Commissioner Robinson.
Good morning, Michaela.
Good morning.
Well done. Well done. All right, mental health, and full disclosure, she used to be one of my interns, and I'm glad to see her grow and be in this place to actually speak to the board directly. Well done. All right, so here's my question. This is more broadly. So these two bills, Ms. Tappan, there were 10, what was the numbers again? 10, 13, and 5?
520.
520, very good. So is this active? These two are something that were already pre-filed, or this is what's the historical? What am I looking at with these two bills? Is it something that's going to be coming up this current legislation session?
I yield this question to Madam ACA.
It's okay. Madam ACA, get in here. Help us out.
Thank you, Michaela, for that presentation. So we're here before you today actually asking for just a resolution to support the, and really to continue to encourage our legislators and our governor to provide funding and resources and tools for our citizens in our state who have mental illness issues, substance abuse issues. The two bills that were stated in Ms. Tappan's presentation, House Bill 1013 was passed and signed by the governor in 2022, and the reason why that bill is pertinent to what we're talking about today is because it was kind of seen as the mental health reform plan for the state of Georgia. One of the benefits that we can probably see here in our county is that providing the CSB with the ability to be a co-responder with our sheriff's office, our police departments in our municipalities, that has been very helpful from my understanding to have a co-responder with those officers when they go out. Now, 1013 authorized it, but it did not provide the funding for us to do that. So House Bill 520 is like a continuation, and one of the provisions of House Bill 520 in its current state is actually providing funding for each CSB to have a coordinator for those type of responses. So that's been very important.
All right, no, thank you for that. And I know, obviously, mental health has been something that's been important to me, especially over the past, 8 or 9 years through the forums. And I just watched it last night. Thank you, Yvette. I think it was on maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And to your point, I'm watching, it's about $254 million at the governor. It sort of got cut, disregarded. And so I know we've got a meeting coming up with our legislators sometime in December. So I'm watching this and I'm hearing us on one hand say one thing and we're doing another. I'm looking at our budget and we're cutting CSB almost in half. So I hear us. But I'm looking at the spirit okay, we're saying that we want mental health. We all need it. Everybody got issues, but we at the local level at least try to advance it to make up for where the state fell. Well, I'm like, okay, so where is this going now? We putting forth it's like symbolic. But I'm looking at this, Y'all can't see this? And if everybody's in on it, that's fine. But as we sit here and we talk about bills? Do we really care? We're gonna really advocate and step up, or we're just gonna have, cute words that we say? Not y'all. I'm just, and Madam AC knows me. My point is, will we talk to the delegation about this in our next coming? Is this on the agenda to advance mental health? That's my question.
Right now, we're in the process of compiling the 2024 legislative agenda. However, our 2023, one of our state priorities in our legislative agenda is to expand behavioral health support and provide appropriate mental health services. And in that priority, we support increasing funding for care of behavioral health treatment to ensure that people living with mental illness, substance abuse disorder, and intellectual and/or developmental disabilities receive the treatment and support necessary to lead a meaningful life in the community. So this legislative priority was in our 2023 agenda in the state portion, and we have a similar priority for the federal portion. And I believe we've had that for the past couple of years since I've been doing the legislative agenda for the county.
Got it. I know you're on this. Thank you. I just want to bring that up as awareness for the record as we walk through this process, our budget process, our legislative process, which I think are going to be about the same period of time, go and meet with our delegation,
Yes.
as well as approving the budget. So again, it's all about alignment, all about alignment. Thank you, Madam ACA.
Thank
I yield, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Carson?
Thank you for bringing this forward, Michaela. I think you and I were in the same meeting when this was proposed again at ACCG. So good work. You're getting into the depths of how legislation starts to unfold and how it impacts us locally here at the county level. One of my questions is, again, HB 1013 stated that CSBs were to be those co-responders. Mm-hmm. And I am grateful that I believe, took some of our ARPA money to help to have them to help out the sheriff's office, fire, EMS, E911 ride-along calls, and those types of things. But how do we actually set CSB up to be the prominent one for mental health? Because right now it's stagnated. It's all throughout the courts. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and we're not sharing data. And if we're not sharing data, right, how do we know how effective we are in the community when we put these dollars in the hands of CSB, the court system, all of that, right? We need one location where we can actually synergize our data and make sure that we're actually impacting those in the community that we say we want to help. We have so many 501c3s that come to us every year and that ask us money. You know this, right? And we only have a small pot that we can give out because it is the taxpayers' money. And so we're cutting here, we're adding here, we're taking from here, and we're making sure that we can do the best we can. But without that data to show us how impactful we are, what are we really doing, to Commissioner Robinson's point? So I'm hopeful that if we do pass this this resolution on tomorrow, that this Board of Commissioners will actually do what it suggests. HB 1013 was passed for a reason. HB 520 is on the House floor now. We need to ensure that we're doing our part locally, right? If we have a $125 million budget, but we give less than 1% to CSB or to those entities that actually go out into the community and impact the lives of the community, then I think we are doing our citizens a disservice. I just want to say that for the record. Thank you. I yield you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Alcaraz?
HB 520. You state it's funding for just a coordinator? Or
So-
is it going to additional funding beyond the coordinator?
Yes, there's additional funding beyond the coordinator. So an estimate was done, and originally the cost to implement HB 520 would be around $72 million. So there is a cost associated with HB 520 statewide, not for just for Douglas County, but statewide. And some of those initial costs, I believe, are about $3.7 million, but overall it'll be about $72 million. However, working the committees and things that have worked to put this bill forth, they do feel like in the long run, there will be significant savings to the state of Georgia, which would be passed down to the counties. If this bill was pushed forward in its current state. Now, right now, we know the legislative session starts back the second week in January, and of course, this bill can take many forms between now and the end of the 2024 legislative session. However, as of today, ACCG is urging counties to support this bill, and they have actually asked all 159 counties to pass this resolution so this bill can be at the forefront of the minds of our legislators, and just help to move our mental health and substance abuse support for our citizens forward.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear because
Oh, yes.
to our citizens, it might have sounded like it was just coming as funding for a coordinator, but, want them to know that we're urging the state to give more than just that.
Right.
Because you are correct. I had a meeting in our last conference, ACG, talking about this actual topic, and I'm glad to see that they are getting on board, and I'm glad to see my peers, and because we all know representatives in the House, and from both parties, we should be urging them for this to be pushing this bill forward. I appreciate this being brought up to us, and look forward to this being passed tomorrow. I yield, Chairman.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, just one thing, and we talked about the services. I get support for public safety. And I think Ms. Tappan said something about housing. Talk to me about that, because that's always been a challenge. I heard something about DUI, drug. Talk to me about housing. Does that apply here?
So one of the things that 520 is doing is taking steps to find more supportive housing for people who have mental health and substance abuse issues. One of the focuses of 520 is to create a grant program, and part of that grant program would be like reentry programs, which will focus on what she called familiar faces, the people that keep coming, they're in a cycle because of behavioral health issues. And so the housing aspect would be able to finding housing for those citizens that have those issues. So that it's like it's a general thing now, but of course, maybe once the bill is passed, there'll be more specifics as to actually how the housing will be defined.
Right, because the reason, again, back to that forum that I had, mental health forum, housing right now is the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we don't have any hospitals, but even then, after the fact, let's say we're transitioning back, we're re-entering into society, whatever, however, whether it's temporal or, the issue is where are they going to live? All right, so we're talking about apartments, we're talking about houses that are rented. Who's going to fund them? Now, we have them that already exist here. We know that Cobb County owns houses over here in our very nice communities, and we have these right now. Know the data. And so it's like, okay, it's about in my backyard. And how do we deal with that reality? And it's spread in District 4, District 2, they exist. And so again, can the county, how much can we do as a county proper? How much do we use a state quasi-government state agency like CSB, or directly from the state or the federal? So it's about like, okay, we talk about it, but we went from when I first came on board, Mr. Chair, when you were the chair, sheriff, it was like 24%. I remember your data, about 24% in our jail was mental health. Based on what Lieutenant Colonel Pounds said on my mental health forum, it's almost up to 80% with some type of issue. And again, it's like, okay, let's line this up. How do we deal with this? Because it ain't going nowhere. It's getting deeper and it's being more spread. But again, all we can do is legislate and advocate for the things that are necessary. And I appreciate y'all bringing attention to this. But housing is important, because where are they going to go to become stable? And your point, in a temporal basis. So we'll take this up when we get in there in front of our delegation. Mr. Alcaraz's point, we'll make sure we lobby, and I know you got this. Thank you, Madam ACA. I yield.
Thank you. Thank you. We have several discussion items. Tax Commissioner Baker is here to discuss his 24.
Chairman, I'm sorry, we had 2 more items.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Number 11 is approval of an MOU with the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency for the use of Georgia EM Grants Manager System in relation to an upcoming cybersecurity grant award at no cost, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Alex Betancourt.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. A little bit over a year ago, we submitted an application for a cybersecurity grant from the state. They received some federal funding from the cybersecurity agency, from Homeland Security, to distribute amongst the state. We didn't hear back from them for a while, but last week we heard that we were one of the finalists to receive this grant. In order for us to submit our funding request to the grant, we will have to do it through the GMA and Homeland Security portal. And in order to access that portal, we need an MOU from our agency with the Homeland Security and GMA agencies. So this is what this item's about. I also included in your packets some more information about the cybersecurity grant in our plan to use funding that we requested for the county.
Questions, comments? Vice Chair Carson.
Thank you. Is there a match for this grant?
Yes, there's a 10% match.
And that 10% will come from what budget?
So we have it in our 2023 budget, and we're hoping that this grant is allocated in this budget year. Going
So for
forward.
2023, you're asking to include this, so that would expand.
For this budget year, we already have it in our budget. So we're hoping that the distribution happens
In this
year.
cycle.
In this cycle, yes.
Thank you. I yield.
How much is the grant?
We're requesting $69,000, which is the max for our agency.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Next.
Thank you.
Yes, number 12, approval of equipment proposal number 102623 with 10-8 Fire and Safety LLC to purchase two 2024 Ford ambulances at $216,274 each for a total of $432,548 in connection with the previously approved Douglas Ford Reinvestment Plan Phase 1, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Allen.
Chief?
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, Board. The Fire Department is requesting to have monies released to purchase two ambulances to be delivered February of next year. These ambulances will be used to replace some aging equipment that we have right now, and we're actually requesting that monies because we came under budget on our SCBA's. So we asked in that release.
Questions, comments? Vice Chair Carson.
Okay, so I'm trying to follow you. So you have a savings? Is that what it is?
Well, when we budgeted for the self-contained breathing apparatuses, they actually came under budget.
So you do have a savings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the savings, you are asking to take the savings from the breathing apparatus and move it over to purchase ambulances?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are these to purchase two new ambulances, or is this to replace ambulances?
These are to replace ambulances.
Okay, got you. All right. Fair enough. So there is no increase anywhere. Cost, maintenance, everything would be the same. What are you going to do with the ambulances that you replace?
Hopefully we can try to get those in better working conditions so we could use them as reserves, because our average mileage right now, we're putting at least 4,000 miles a month on ambulances. Our newest ambulance that we just got last year, I think we have 159,000 miles on it. We have an ambulance that's not that old that we have over 200 and, give you the exact number here, 228,000 miles.
What's the average mileage for an ambulance in service?
What we put on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we put anywhere between 3,500 and 4,000 miles.
No, but I'm saying, what's the average lifespan of an ambulance, mileage-wise?
Mileage-wise, it differs with the amount of usage. But like I said, we're putting anywhere between 159 to 228. And I think the oldest one we have is maybe 7 years.
Okay, so in your planning, the only reason you can do this now is because you saved some money on another item.
Yes, ma'am.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, are you looking at how you will continue to replenish them? This was a one-off, but.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're always looking at how to do our vehicles, especially our ambulances, not just our ambulances, but our fire engines also. We're driving them till the wheels are falling off.
And the only reason I say that is because, we had this issue with the sheriff's cars, and we're having to address it, and it's backlog. So I would hope that this administration moving forward would continue to work with each department so that we don't have these backlogs where we're having to go you know, and find the money for these types of things. Okay, all right. Thank you. I yield, Chairman.
Okay, so you have enough money to cover the entire expense?
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else? Commissioner Alcaraz.
Okay, Chief, I know we talked about, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got some of these vehicles and your SPLOS coming up, correct?
Sir?
You have ambulances in your SPLOS list, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I know we got a public safety meeting coming up on Thursday, but this just, you know, you got, obviously the money, you've got the money to do this, and we got a public safety meeting coming up on Thursday to discuss this in regards to plans for or additional vehicles or additional ambulances needed that we put on that SPLOS list. So we may have to take this offline and look and see what else we might could utilize those funds for, since you already have the funds for these ambulances here, or other needs you may have for your department.
Yes, sir. We probably will need to do this offline because there are some needs that we do have.
Okay. All right. We'll discuss this in the Thursday's public safety meeting. But I yield, Chairman.
All right, so are you saying that we have money in the SPLOS budget to do this? Is that what you're saying?
There were vehicles requested from Fire and EMS for additional ambulances in his 2024 or 2023 or 24 SPLOS.
And you're saying that we should use this money for some other reason than?
No, I'll get with Chief if he needed the ambulance. I know he's requested.
Sure.
He needs these ambulances soon.
It's just a matter of how we pay for them.
Just a matter of how we pay for them. Go ahead, Vice Chair. I yield.
I think she wants to say something. Commissioner Robinson.
To that point, back to alignment, back to 2016 SPLOS in our approach, that we had total visibility and we could line up our various funding sources. Here we are drawing down on 2024, perhaps. We're trying to get that going, and then you've got internal money that we're spending. Who's looking at the big picture and aligning this? And I'm sitting here just shaking my head. It's like, come on. And I get it. You could use that money for other things. Yes, Mr. Chair, you use the internal budget money. We sitting on $30 million from the prior SPLOS. Then we got a brand new SPLOS. It's what, a year up since last year. Thank you, taxpayers. 6 months in, it's like, okay, really? Back to my single view of everything. I hope I see everything from my ARPA, from my SPLOS, everything at this budget meeting at 2 o'clock. I'm gonna make sure I don't go beyond that. I will be there on time. But again, guys, who's lining this up? Yes, we need a need. Got you. But it's up to the administration to ensure, okay, guys, y'all ain't talking. You outside your committee, and it's like, look how this thing is moving. I yield, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna let y'all handle it. It's day to day. I yield, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk?
Yes, that was all on the agenda items. We will have approval of expenses tomorrow, so be ready to approve those. And next, we have our discussion items,
Okay.
which is number 15. Tax Commissioner Greg Baker is here to discuss his 2024 budget.
Morning, Chairman and Board of
Good
Commissioners.
morning, sir.
Here to talk about our collections that we've done for this year, where we are, what we've done, where we're going. I'm supposed to report at least once a year to you, so we're gonna do it before the year ends. Been busy, and I'm gonna bring up Tanya first, then I got two others, and I'm gonna go as quickly as possible, so it should.
Take your time.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I Was just coming up here to just go over collection numbers. These specifically that I will start with are 2022's numbers. For 2022, our collection rate of real property is 99.64%. For personal property for 2022, our collection rate is 98.65%. And our mobile home collection is at 99.19%. Overall, our collection rates are great. So far for 2023, we've also started out really, really good. We have already collected, I don't have an exact number, but close to 41 million for the county so far since the digest came out last month. And yeah, overall, for our overall collection number. Thornhill, do you have? Our overall, collection rate was 99.53%. So we have almost collected everything that was taxed for 2022. Is there any other numbers? Is there any questions?
Any questions, comments? Vice Chair Carthen?
I do have a question. This is not for you, though. This is for our county administrator. When we set the millage rate this year, did we take into consideration the collection rate from the tax commissioner's office?
Well, we base it on.
No. Okay.
Actual.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay, next we got Mr. Barnhill, who's in charge of our delinquent tax department.
Wait, before. I'm going to yield back. So what was the collection rate that we assumed for
When I ask,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Per policy, we use 100% of the prior year. So for 2024, we're going to estimate what we're going to collect for 2023, and it's going to be 100%.
Using 100% of the numbers.
That
All
is
right.
correct.
Thank you. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you.
Morning, Chairman Miller, Board of Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
I'm Michael Barnhill, I'm the Delinquent Tax Administrator for the Douglas County Tax Commissioner's Office. And so I just want to talk about a couple things that we've got going on right now. You just heard the collection rates. First off, I want to give a big shout out to my team, Khalil Hudson, who's here, and also a lady at the office named Kenya Boland. They work real hard to help us reach these percentages for collection. Right now, what we've got going on is we've got 2 tax sales scheduled for December. One is real property, one is for mobile homes. We started this at the 1st of October with the real property. We started about 300 partials. We're down to about 65, and that's brought in approximately $650,000 since we started that. The other thing we got going on is mobile homes. We started with approximately 125 there, partials. We're down to right at about 40, and that's brought in about $14,000. So just being able to stay consistent has helped us keep these collection rates where we want them to be. Thank you. Well, that was the thing that Commissioner Baker's talking about was with personal property. We had a big initiative through the summer where we worked hard on personal property. I'm not exactly sure on those numbers, but we got that number way down and probably brought in $500,000 or $600,000 from doing that. So,
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Robinson?
Got anybody else who's gonna speak behind that, Commissioner? You got somebody else coming?
I got one more.
I'm gonna wait. I'll yield until he's finished. Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Barnhill? You look a lot like a Mr. Barnhill I used to know.
Yes, sir.
Next, we got Ms. Yanera, who's going to discuss where we're at on our hiring process and where we're having some problems that we're going to need your help because your staff keeps saying, I don't have enough funds to do what I'm supposed to do and what I'm trying to do. We're going to get it cleared up. And I got to say, Rosalind and I had a great discussion about a week ago. So I'm glad she's here because some of the things we're going to talk about will show where some of the discrepancies are and what we supposedly need from you.
Good morning.
It's good to be back. Lisa, Sherry. Morning, Commissioner, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. So I came to discuss, like how they were saying, we collect a lot, but it takes a lot from us and from our team. Right now, we have 6 vacant positions, which I sent email previously about. According to what we hire from is our position listing, and we pulled that off of that New World portal. And the position listing is showing right now that we still have 5 vacant full-time positions and 1 vacant part-time position to fill. Whenever we put in a NOPA, we get a rebuttal back from Human Resources and also from Financing saying that the coding was wrong on their end and they're not linking together to give us the correct position listing. As of today's date, when I pulled it this morning, it is still showing that we have those 5 full-time vacant positions and that 1 part-time. I have put in a NOPA to fill in at least 2 of those positions because when citizens come in and they're there sitting and they're watching all these vacant openings by the clerks, they're like wondering why is it that you don't have it filled to go ahead and serve us, the citizens. That's what we pay for. The other thing that I had was that when the budget was approved, because Finance and HR continue telling me that we only were approved for 30 positions. When the budget was approved in December 13 of last year, we currently had 32 employees working and being paid in our office. How did we reduce to 30? I have no idea, but I do have the lineup of all 32 employees that were paid when it was approved, and I don't know how we got down to 30 and why we're now limited to that 30 when they're saying that we have actually 36 positions available. Any questions?
We have 36 positions.
Showing here, yeah, according to that position listing that we pulled from New World. But HR and Human Resources are saying that the codings are different and it shouldn't be, that is incorrect, that we should only have 30. But at the time that the budget was adopted, we actually had 32 employees in office and 4 positions vacant.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Sure.
Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, so here we go, round 2. I'm going to enjoy this. I miss y'all.
You gotta come back me up. You see, he was waiting for me.
Yes, and that was what I was waiting on. So again, one more time, guys, back to the operative word. They say word a day, dictionary type thing. The operative word is audit. Where's the data? I've been listening to this for a year, and this is killing me. And here you are, you got a function that actually, the tax commissioner carries this, ladies and gentlemen. They carry this. They're efficient as all get out. I've watched them. I've watched for 15 years, and I've seen a couple of tax commissioners. They're killing it, guys. Look at the delinquency rate, and look at his team. And I'm looking at what they're trying to get done. To your point, you got ladies in the bays, the taxpayers. Listen, citizens, I'll see y'all on Thursday, but listen to this. They're trying to get work done, service delivery. This is a constitutional officer, and we can't get our act together internally to figure out, okay, how many people you got and don't have. Like it's. Quit playing. Be honest. Fix it. But dragging feet sitting here like this is killing me. And we're acting like, okay, we're way more intelligent than that. We ain't just high school just sitting up here. I cannot accept that type of how y'all are being treated. We got to work with y'all. Like I used to work with the sheriff. You got to work with them. Y'all know the importance of constitutional officers? They shouldn't have to go through this. I get internal general government people. You can treat them however you want to. This guy's up here. And he's trying to be accommodating. It's like if you're being played off like, okay, whatever, because you can. Like, this is probably not going to play out very well. Because you guys took an oath too. You're part of us. And you're doing real services. People want to get their stuff done and keep it moving. Like, what is the problem? Now, I, as oversight, am supposed to say, okay, now what's going on with the system? He runs it. He's the chair, Air Force One. Got it. We're Congress. We're doing something. We show up and say, okay, we're the check and balance. So how is the system working? I represent the people. The people. That's what I'm here for. And I don't miss. So I guess my question becomes, you guys are, so where do y'all stand on this matter? Because I don't want to play this out right here. You've already made your point. I already know where we're at. And I'll deal with this later because like this is wrong on so many levels. This is very bad on so many levels. It's like you shouldn't even have to go through this. And it's like, okay, I got this. Because it's unacceptable. Just come clean. As I've heard that quite often, we'll just come clean. How about that? Let's be consistent about that language. Where are we regarding this matter? He evidently has the revenue to produce it. Be honest, is your system messed up? Then say it. Fix it. But you can't take his budget unless he allows it. He's constitutional. Ain't we no sleight of hand. You got to make up for it. Fix it. I got to yield. I'm sorry. I'll come back to this later. I yield, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I may need our HR person and Rosalind. What did our records show that the tax commissioner, how many positions he has?
Thank you. So I just want to start off by saying that, of course, in the county administration office, it's our job to make sure that not only our constitutional officers, but all of our elected officials have everything that they need that we can do within their budgets. Our finance director and our HR director have taken a deep dive into this situation and have been working with the tax commissioner's office to try to resolve it. After looking at everything, we are showing that only 30 positions were funded and approved for the budget. That's what our numbers and documents show. Okay. We are also showing that in the salary line item, total, Mr. Baker's office is about $53,000 short in that line item. Now, Mr. Baker is completely under budget overall, but in the salary line item, it's about a $53,000, I guess we could say, delinquency in that amount. And so he has money in other line items that can be transferred to cover that. But in order for us to be able to fulfill the positions, one of two things has to happen. Either the transfer has to happen or the Board of Commissioners has to authorize and give us more funding or give him more funding in that line item in order for those positions to be filled, is what our records show.
Okay. When was this budget approved?
The budget that was approved last year.
Okay. Then how is it Air Force One's fault, Mr. Umson?
I'm going to talk to that.
Huh?
I'm going to talk to that.
Okay.
Now, in January, I told them that the budget was wrong because we had 32 people at the time. Now, how it got to 30, I don't know. That has nothing to do with me. That has the way it was submitted. Or what I was told how the computer computed it. I had $105,000 last year in my part-time budget. It got slashed to $52,000. Now, I didn't approve that. What I was told is the computer did it. And if I get it wrong, Rosalind, you're more than happy to correct me. But what we talked about is the computer did it because I moved some people up to full-time. Because what I did is I came before you and I explained to you that how I was doing things. I was hiring people. What we did before, we were hiring people, and they didn't work out. We had them on the payroll, whole thing, and then we had to get rid of them. That didn't make sense, and I went around and found out what other tax commissioners in other counties were doing. Some people were hiring them through temporary agencies and all that. We decided to put them in part-time. So we hire them part-time. And then if they work out, we move them to full-time before we expend any money on anybody. And I explained that to everybody here. My budget was $105,000 in part-time. when I got to January, it was that 52,000. I asked that question, and my answer was given that it's okay. It's an error. Okay, so that error is still there that says I only have 52,000 in there instead of 105.
I don't
It
mean to
shows that
interrupt, but who told you that?
Finance.
Finance?
Now I was being told that it was only because you only approved 30 positions instead of the positions I had, that you only approved 30. So I'm just assuming it was a computer error again. Okay, and they're coming up here and say you only approved 30, but that was wrong also. So what they're telling you is you only approved 30, but I had more than 30 when it started. So it's either a computer error or human error. And it doesn't matter which one it is, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, point fingers. We need to get it corrected. Just like Commissioner Robertson said. I'm not here to beat up anybody, blame anybody. It's either a computer error or a human error. Now, what do we need to do to fix it? That's all we need to do is fix it. They keep saying I got to come before you and ask for more money. Now, I'm not moving anything from my line item. Because what they're saying, if I move stuff from my line item, you're not going to give it back to me next year. Well, I'm not willing to give up anything for next year. So I don't know how that makes sense, but I'm not moving something from my line item. Okay, I'll move something from the line item. I'll tell you exactly where I'm going to move it from. I'm going to move it from postage. Guess what? You're not going to get any tax bills out next year. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. It's a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. I know we can beat up people and all that good stuff, but now what do we do to go past this? I'm going to hire my people. Let me make that very clear. I have a constitutional duty to do certain things, and I'm going to do those things. Okay? I don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to fault any of them, but I'm going to keep moving forward with what I got to do. So how do we fix it? I don't know. That's why I'm here. What do you want to do? Now, we can either decide it here or do it later. But I'm going to hire those two people. They're already hired. I can tell you that now. They're going to start on the 27th. Now, they're saying I need to move money from another line item. I'm not willing to give up anything from another.
Did you have 32 people last year?
Yes.
And they cut you and they were employed at the first of the year.
When you did the budget.
And they only gave you 30 people
Yes.
money to pay for 30 people. Okay.
Well, how I got to 30, I don't know.
All right.
And we had 36. If you look at the paperwork, it was said we had 36 people. Now, I don't know how we got there. And I'll even concede the 34. Because I can't actually prove that the number is 36 because, like I say, it could have been two people in part-time that were waiting to move up to full-time. So I'll even concede the 34 because I may have had two people in part-time that were waiting to move up to 34 because, like I say, they started as part-time and then we move them up once we find out that they can work good. So I'll concede two people right now because I can't clearly say that I think it should be 36, be honest with you, but I'm a reasonable person. I will work with you. Our goal is to work together.
Well,
I need to see what we want to do.
Whatever it is, the number needs to be how many people you need to get the job done. It doesn't need to be any less or any more.
I need the 36, but you know, we got a new budget coming up, and if I get the 36, I ask you for a financial person, and that's a must. I'm not conceding on that this next year. I know you got some budget woes and all that good stuff, but I only have Tanya in that position. I'll give you an example. Don't forgive me. Tanya's daughter got COVID. She had to stay home with her daughter. Her husband stayed home with her daughter. After her daughter got COVID, the husband got COVID. Tanya has to stay home with them. After that got COVID, the other daughter got COVID. Am I not right? Tanya's sick at home. So guess what? Tanya's gone for 2-3 weeks. You can't get checks. She's the only one that prints checks. I don't have another person in that department right now. Something happens to Tanya, and they say, I explained to you in my budget hearing, I must have one more person in that department. Now, we have another lady in her department, but she's a clerk from the counter. Her job is to sit in the office and count the money and reconcile. Tanya can't do her own audit. That girl has to do her audit, and Tanya does her audit. Can't do it. Not going to do it. Have to have two people auditing is not doing the same audit. Tanya doesn't count. Well, once in a while she gets to count the money because I don't have anybody else in that department. So that's a must. I'm not going to pull any punches. That's the one thing I must have. Is one more person in that department. You have a finance department. You have a lot of people in that department doing things. I've survived. I keep asking for it. I must have that this year. But again, if I get the 36 people, I can do the figuring myself and figure it out. That's what I'm saying. But that's where we are. So I needed to let you know because, like I said, we keep going back and forth with HR, finance, and everybody else. We shouldn't have to go back and forth. We just need to solve the problem and move on.
Anyone else? Vice Chair?
Thank you. Commissioner Baker, are you on budget, under budget, over budget for the year?
I'm on budget. Now they're saying I'm on my line item for full-time employees. I'm not over yet. I think on part-time, I think we're a little over. Yeah, they're asking us to move money now because we're going to run over. When I looked at it yesterday, not yet, well, yeah, I was here yesterday. It was yesterday. We're pretty much on schedule, or she's saying we're 53,000 over, I guess.
Okay, so that 53,000 kind of equates to what was cut at the beginning of the year that you said somebody said was an error.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little. I would be totally on. I've never been over budget. I would be totally on budget if we had that
$53,000, which should have been in there, but it was cut from.
Yes.
From.
If we still showed the at least the two positions, we would be totally on budget, straight to the T.
Straight to the T. Had we not taken the $53,000 that they keep saying was a computer error, was two part-time positions.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was two full-time, but you cut part-time also. So I could have moved money from part-time because you only gave me 52,000 instead of the 105 I had in there.
So again, the $53,000 that was cut from your part-time, right, is the $53,000 that you are now would be over towards the end of the year.
I could move it to wherever I needed to. Yes.
Okay, so it sounds to me the only thing would be the 53. Once we give you your budget, it is your budget. Right. However you move between the line items is totally up to you. Right. So if you want to cut from postage, if you want to cut from wherever, it's you. I know, I'm just saying, as a constitutional officer, you are well within your right to cut to move it wherever you see fit.
Yeah.
The Board of Commissioners, all we do is appropriate.
Okay, and I want to just say it like, I did ask for a copy of the budget before it gets submitted this year. Mm-hmm. For some reason we don't get a copy of the budget before it's submitted to you guys. So I think if we did that, we would cut out some of the problems before you approve something that's not right. I've asked for a copy of it before it comes to you. I don't know when you guys vote on it, but I'd like to look at it to make sure the numbers are right and we work through it before it gets to you. That is my request, and
I think that's more than reasonable and more than fair. I believe we can definitely do that. But one of my questions is, and this is not just you, this is all departments, everybody that comes before me. I am very consistent. When you all move part-time people to full-time, that includes benefits.
Yes.
And then on the back end, that includes that we, the Board of Commissioners and the taxpayers, have to pick up those retirement benefits, the pension benefits, and all that stuff. That stuff has to be accounted for. If that is not accounted for, guess who picks it up out of the general fund?
That's correct.
We do.
And
So
that's why I've always asked you for full-time positions. If I don't get them, I leave people in part-time. I've never gone over budget, don't plan to go over budget, don't plan to move someone to full-time if I haven't got approval ahead of time that I can have those positions. Now, I will challenge you. Like you heard Mr. Barnhill said, we've collected a lot of money that probably wouldn't have been collected. We look at a lot of areas. Our job is just not to be the tax. Our job is to help you reduce taxes for the citizens. That's why we look for stuff, and we look for money that's never been collected before, and we try to help you keep taxes down. That's why these guys go out in the field. And if I ask for a position, like when I asked for Barnhill when I first got elected, I knew there was money out there. People kept saying, well, why does he need that? Well, that first year, first 7 months, we collected $8 million. That year, we collected $12 million. Next year, we collected $4 million. I know you guys are short on your budgets this year. You did a great job of giving the sheriff his money. I have no qualms with the sheriff. He got his money. He deserves his money. So does the fire department. Because if I call the sheriff, I want somebody there. If I call emergency, I want somebody there. But you just got to remember, we collect most of your money. My department collects most of your money. All I'm asking is for, if I ask for a person, I'm going to justify it, and I guarantee you, I will collect the money to pay for that position.
that's one of the reasons why I asked what was the collection rate and how did we incorporate the collection rate against what we thought you could actually collect. And you're really close, right? If it's 99% and we projected 100%.
99.5.
Okay, I'm gonna give you your 0.5. If it's 99.5,
I'm trying to get, I don't know anybody that's tax commissioner that is 100%, but
absolutely,
we're
but you're really
working on
close.
It. And I'll challenge you, and I won't do it at this meeting. I know you're short about $5 million, and I've said this even to the chairman. And he kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit. I gotta say, well, you should be doing that anyway. Well, Chairman, today I hope I showed you that we are doing exactly that. We're trying to collect every dollar that we can find for you. Barnhill's turning over every rock, mobile homes and everything else. Now, I can't guarantee you that I'm going to collect the $5 million for you, but I'm willing to take a challenge. You give me. You challenge me to give me what I asked for in this year's budget, and if I meet that $5 million, you'll give me everything I asked for. There's a challenge.
Do we have anybody in this
Chairman,
room? Oh, I'm sorry.
Point of
Go
privilege.
ahead. You go right ahead.
So I'm going to yield right back to you in 1 second. So my question then is, for the $53,000 that you're missing, that would push you over in that line item. We are asking you to move it from something else. You're saying no because it should have already been there. And I understand that. Mm-hmm. That's fair, right? It should have already been in the budget. Don't know why it's not. We will take the blame for that, right? So what I would ask is that you get with the county administrator and the assistant county administrator, and let's see how we can correct that $53,000. Even though it's almost, the year for this budget is almost over, we are about to go into the 2024 budget. The 32 that you had on the books before, you're right, should have already been there. They should have been there. I can't promise you, because we are cutting, that you will have 36 positions. Can't do that. I don't think anybody up here can. But what we will do is we will work with you, because we do know that you collect the money that we dole out for each department, and without you, we could not do it. So I agree with you in that aspect. I want to say that loud and clear. We are not coming against you. We're simply saying that when the money is there, we'll give it to you, but when it's not, we can't force it.
I got just one last question before I sit down, because I know you guys want to get out. So how much do you need for this year to recoup yourself?
To what?
How much do you need for this year to be whole again
For the 2023 budget?
for 2024? You keep saying you're out of money.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, are you $5 million short for next year's
I'm not going
budget?
to tell you what balanced budget.
Okay.
Not quite sure.
So when you say you're not gonna give anything for next year, if you have a balanced budget,
Balanced budget. Proposing balanced budget.
okay. That was my question.
And it does take into consideration each department and each constitutional officers. When you came before us, I would hope that the chair and the county administrators have taken into consideration what you ask. If they have not, we, as each one of us as commissioners, will take a look at it, and we will ensure that we can meet you as close to that as possible. We have.
Okay. And like I say, I haven't heard anything for 2024.
Okay.
The only words I heard for 2024 is we're not getting anything. That's just what I'm saying. So if that's true, that's what I was asking. What do you need for us to get something? So that's all I know is that's all I hear is we're not getting anything.
But what I do hear is that if you collected almost 100% with 32 people, I'm pretty sure then if we give you what you're asking for the 32 or 33 or possibly 34, that you can collect almost 100% again. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's what you're hearing me say.
All right. I yield, Chairman.
All right.
Is there anyone in this room that knows how he had 32 employees last year and his budget was cut to 30? Is there a budget person, a finance person, an administrator? Does anybody know if that actually is what happened?
Good morning. No, that's not what happened. I guess to understand definitions and then the software system is that your staffing pattern, let's take, for instance, the finance department. We could have several positions that we've had current year, and we call that an organizational pattern. And let's say we have 20 employees, 20 positions, not employees, but 20 positions. But then when the budget is approved, it is based off of, and last year it was, we looked at open positions, how long a position was open, and we based the budget based off of the employees that you've had for several years. And the salary was in line with the prior year. So we went back and we looked at the tax commissioner's staffing pattern and their actual employees. Their actual employees were 30 for several years. However, what they're mentioning where they're stating that, well, we have 6, we look at the report and we have 6 open. That is their staffing pattern. Those are positions that were funded in the past, and it was not funded in 2023, and they didn't use them in 2023 or 2022. We went back and we looked at check registers, actual checks cut, and it was always within the 30. Now, we would not have, so they have been hiring, and when this issue has come up, finance reviewed it, and we looked at the check register, and they had 32 employees. And then we looked at their salaries, and they were over budget on salaries. So at that point, that's when we discussed it with the tax commissioner, and we said that you're over budget. You were, and even not looking at positions, if we just take a look at how much the board provided them in salary dollars was $1.5 million. So we stated that you're over. We look back and they've had a payout at the beginning of the year, because in May we had a discussion with them and we stated that it looks like you're trending over budget. So we went back and they had a retiree, someone that left, and they had a payout, and that person's payout was about $38,000, which that has taken from their funding. Usually you, when looking at the prior year budget, you also look at your staffing to identify who's going to retire. So that would be a request. You would normally say, I have Judy, she's retiring for 2024. Her payout is this amount. I need the board to provide me with additional $40,000. However, that wasn't done. And when this issue came about, that's when finance discovered it. And then at that point, just like we can't take from a constitutional officer's salary or budget, we can't add to it. We would love to proceed with it, but there's only two things that can happen. Either the board provides him with the funding for these two additional people, or he just moves money over into that line item. Because we can't, and as he mentioned that he's hired the employees, he's going to be over budget in his salary line item. But he has, he's under budget, and we're trending that he'll be under budget about $200,000. And that's even with the payout. So we're, so that was our recommendation, is to either the board to approve the two additional positions so it'll carry over to 2024, or the tax commissioner can move enough funding for the next 2 months worth of salaries into a line item. But just understand, if he does that, then he is going to have the two additional heads. And so we would have to increase the proposed budget that's before you, because we only had 30 heads.
Okay.
If that makes.
Just 1 second, please. Was your budget cut last year? Huh? No, was it cut from the previous year?
Well, I had 105,000 in part-time. Cut to 52.
No, the bottom line was his budget cut.
It was increased.
His budget was increased
That is
last year?
correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Commissioner Robinson.
Rebuttal part. So, you know, watching this over time, I've never seen like stuff that we do in the current era, that we push things out here and make it legislative. Like, solve this. Go back and look at every tape for every meeting from '08, and you will not see this type of like, get over there and help them. They serve the public at large, my sheriff, my probate, my tax commission, my clerk. Do you know what they do? Do you know the importance of their functions for this government? And I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm like, okay, really, guys? All right, man, take the short-term hit, yep, make accommodation, because it don't make me get into my budget to say, see, staff is not helping, Ms. Chair. This wasn't about you. They're supposed to make you look good. It's unfortunate we're here. You don't have to solve this. You know how much money we pay them? Like, my problem is like, okay, y'all playing. Do you know what these guys are doing, and you trying to accommodate? But I'm looking at this budget that's being proposed, this balance, and I'm like, but look how it's moving. Look who getting moved. What's going up? And I'm like, okay, this is not going to play out very well, because it's disingenuous. It doesn't support the core functions of government. You got to be sensitive to how Douglas runs. That's my point. Who's running this thing? I'm watching like, okay, yeah, y'all saying, Mr. Chair, look how they're saying they're doing this, but staff is doing this. They're saying, well, wait a minute, I put this in, right, it's the okie doke, it's the sleight of hand. It's like, no, you can't be detached from this, because we have crashes like this. That's an issue. It's like a Wizard of Oz, like, okay, guys, this is not going to play out. This is not Douglas. The heart is not right. That's where we are right now. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. For the greater good. It can be fixed. You should not be here. We should not spend an hour with my tax commission over something that, got it. Let's fix it, guys. Go ahead. Take care of the short term and adjust it. Mr. Chair, it's not, the board, our job is like, no, staff is going to fix this. No, I can fix it. I can fix it well. But it's like, no, I'm paying y'all. Y'all go ahead and fix it. That means y'all look at y'all budget and you need to make some other adjustments to bring this back around to accommodate him. But then what they're doing is they're pushing to make the board do it, making us clash with our peers. What you sitting here for? I'm paying you the money I pay you. Solve this thing. Causing this type of friction. Creating this type of atmosphere. It's unnecessary, as if it's a hard problem to solve. And everybody like, well, who gonna make the decision? Right, let's get somebody here full time that can do this right versus letting my chair sit out here. And it wasn't about him. I'm trying to show him, like, look at this now. It's that staff shenanigans, as I call it. Watch this. I made my point. I rebutted what I had to say, Mr. Chair. I don't think we can solve it right now unless the board chooses to. It's up to you, Mr. Chair. I yield, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I got one more thing.
Yes, sir.
My budget was increased. Probate judge just reminded me. I had 32 employees, bottom line. When you approved the budget, I had 32. You approved 30, that's because you got bad information. I'm not gonna blame anybody, like I said, you got bad information. My budget increased, you guys gave people a raise. My budget's gonna increase. What did you say? How did you say it? It increased because you gave people raises. Everybody's budget increased.
Good morning, everyone. Probate Judge Christina J. Peterson. What I was mentioning was, and I don't know, I haven't specifically looked at tax commissioner's budget, but I know for my budget, when the county made the gracious increases to our employees, it's already been taken into effect, but my budget remained the same. So therefore, that money came out of my already budgeted items. So in tax commissioner's case, it would look like he's going over, and he's really in a bad place now because the county made decisions to increase the salaries of all employees, which per law, the county cannot do for constitutional officers. It's the constitutional officer's decision to pay their people. But it happened. I didn't dispute it because my people needed raises. But I'm just telling you that money was not added to his budget from the increases that the county so graciously gave.
Thank you. Now, and one other point. If I had 32 employees and you only approved 30, something happened.
I agree.
Bottom line. I
agree.
don't care. They can spin it any way they want. If I got 32, and here's the people.
If you
These
get,
people were there. I mean, I didn't make them up. They're on the payroll. It was 32 people. Now
there was 32 people on the payroll at the beginning of last year. Is that
Thank
what you're
you.
saying?
That's it.
All
And
right.
if it got approved, you approved 30, but it's not your fault because you didn't know any better, and I didn't get a copy of what they were submitting. And like I said, I'm not blaming anybody, but don't come to try to spin it a different way when we had the proof that 32 people were on the payroll at that time. And that's all I'm saying. Let's just fix it, move on, and I'm done. Bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next is number 16. We have proposed policies, resolutions regarding attorney fees, vice chair appointment, and vacancies on the Board of Commissioners. And this will be for Commissioner Robinson.
All right, so, all right, Lisa, let's do this. Just really quickly, just to give context to the board before I get into it and open this up. For the past couple of years, the Board of Commissioners has gone down the path of what we call fall legislation, where various legislative matters are introduced and debated and voted on. This year, there's been at least 3 by my office, and again, just for the record, legislation can be initiated either through the county, specifically the county attorney and of the chair, and of course, any single district commissioner. That's important for, obviously, Madam Vice Chair knows that. Commissioner Dobbs may not know that yet because he hasn't done it, and Commissioner Alcaraz, you don't need the county attorney's approval to initiate or sponsor legislation. Why? Because we are legislators. That is our job. All right, we regulate, we do legislation, and we also do service provision, and of course we do fiscal oversight according to the role of the Board of Commissioners in the county handbook. I'm gonna get very specific so we're not confused about what authority we have. All right, so we introduce legislation, and just like with the General Assembly, if you want to appeal or debate any provision within this, we can. There is a process. Usually we try to give people time to take a look at this. This is important. For me, I'm speaking for myself, I tend to be open. Everybody weigh in. Get involved. right? We have a first reading, a second reading, a first presentment, a second one. Sometimes it's required for you to put it out there in the general public. If it's a local act, which is different than a local law, right? You may have to put it out into the Sentinel. If it's a policy or ordinance, well, we can do it overnight. It's all about communication. That's always important, right? But everybody gets to weigh in. There is a formal process to this. So the first one up, Lisa, what's the first one? We'll go ahead. I just wanted to have a background. So this is just discussion. Pay attention to the public. All right, my peers have already seen this maybe a couple of weeks ago, at least the ones I sponsored. They've had time to take a look at this. Obviously, these were just recently released to the broader public. Obviously, anybody can weigh in on policy. Remember, policy must be done in the public. Anybody that's a citizen can weigh in. Anybody has an interest in this can weigh in. Remember, public policy must be debated public. Any citizen can look at this legislation and you can send in your comments. Ms. Bechter used to be good in writing stuff on our perch cards. She was good at that. This, guys, is not just about us, and it's not concentrated into the power of the county attorney. It doesn't work that way. If I want to take in anybody's comments, I can. If Mr. Alcaraz wants to get feedback from any of his citizens or employees regarding the work that he's working on with the mirror system, he can. Learn the process. All right, so with that being said, this is just, I'm really not taking up any debate right now, Mr. Chair. This was just to put it out there in the public. We can discuss any one of these items, the three I've talked about. I'll take them in the order that I see fit. So the first one is the vice chair. Let's talk about the vice chair. So this one, this legislation, we introduced it maybe a couple of years ago, and the board made a decision to no longer allow the chair to pick their own vice chair, which has been the historical from the beginning of time. And so it was, again, it's all about the majority. There's enough people inside to want to make a change they can. At that time, I was the vice chair, and I was willing to acquiesce. Say, you know what, my time is short, it's all good. I get it, I'm on my last dance anyway. There was really no combination of three for me to give that up, but I agreed for the next generation to step up. All right, you guys know how that went down. It was an open vote. Madam Vice Chair is now the chair. But however, the legislation we did to enact that to have us, it wasn't as clean as it could be. Just like the Constitution, sometimes you have to amend it. There's some things in there that we need to be, as far as the effective date, that need to be fixed. Some people thought that it should have been effective immediately. We didn't see it fit because the board agreed through concurrence that it'll be after the next general election with a swearing-in ceremony. So now what you see is that legislation that now codifies that intent. It is always the will of the board. All right, that's an easy one. That's more, I would say, a text amendment. But the second part with that also, how conveniently, is that originally it was that the vice chair was only supposed to get one term at 2 years. Now this one seems to be not to exceed 4 years. How interesting. I get it, but you guys get it. So now we have but every year, every 2 years, you guys are supposed to have an election this coming January. Who's going to be the next vice chair? You got to think through that. That's where we are right now, but we have legislation that's going to affect that right now. All right, so we got to take a look at that. That was that one. That's easy. You guys can come back and give me your comments as any of y'all can weigh in, but again, we'll take it up next time. The next one, let's talk about replacement. We've always, in county clerk, this is the easy one. The county clerk did some excellent work, guys. She chronicled every commissioner, both chair and district commissioners, since the beginning of time. Every name. I mean, to see this work, at least it was well done. I know you were still drafting, making it better. You're like, look at this. Oh, wait a minute, there's more women that's been on this than I thought. Oh, wow, look, Lori Fulton. Oh my God, if you look at that history, and then she has to transition to their time period, like, wow, since 1870. And there was probably, a couple of deaths, Lisa, some resignations, some retirements. So about 8 or 9 people, now not being exacting because you can look at it for yourselves. But my point being is that, okay, but what happens if in fact somebody does retire? What is the process in which we do? We don't have a policy locally. We can put that in place. So we put it in place and say, what happens with vacancies? Sometimes we experience something that, okay, but what do we do in this case? Sometimes we don't want to experience certain things, but it happened. What happens if you have a permanent vacancy, a temporary vacancy? So we just tried to codify that locally, and that's what this is about. And so we've got some, what happens if you have a special call meeting? Like, for example, if I leave, what will y'all do? What will the board do if I don't go to in the next year? If I'm within 6 months, what do you do? If it's within after 6 months and before the next election, what do you do? What if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? What would you do? You need to have something in place to allow that to affect. Rarely does it happen that it's not part of some type of general election, but life happens, and we're not delusional about the need to have these policies in place so we can deal with those. Now, I asked the Board of Commissioners, and I asked proper the county clerk, and specifically county attorney, but what did you do with those 9 people in the past? Don't tell me what happened, show me the history. Not you, Lisa. I still ain't got it, but I don't have time for that. Sometimes we like, okay, y'all ain't responding, but we'll catch you later. So again, that was that one. Vacancies is easy. There's some provisions in there, and what happens is that if somebody as a board commissioner doesn't agree with a certain provision, a certain paragraph, we just mark it. If there's something that needs to be inserted, just add it, smooth it out. Sometimes when we look at, for example, vacancy, you may need some type of local legislation to get involved, right? You know, we may need to go up to our peers up there, up on higher ground and stuff, to delegation to get involved, to enact things officially. But we can take it up. So there may be different parts we have to do. Just like that legislation in that one, we took it from what? The Board of Elections. When the Board of Commissioners went from a 2-3 to a 3-2, at that time, Roger Bruce was the head of our delegation, and Kimberly Alexander, and Don Zella, and who else was it? I think Gravely was still there, and so forth. And they made a switch. They said give the Board of Commissioners 3-2, and so the Democrats now had 3-2 on the Board of Elections. That's where that language was pulled from. But to effect that, you had to go to the delegation. We were being consistent. It was how you put your legislation together. So that was an easy one. Again, y'all take a look at that. It's a process. It's iterative. We got time before we vote, so it's not the end of the world today. And the last one is attorney fees, and how often we've been having this conversation. Now, just for the record, Ms. Chair, you weren't even here. We talked about this time last year when the county attorney asked for, I don't think I've got authority to make certain decisions. You know, when people ask for power, it kills me when we find ourselves. Conflict attorney. We gave the county attorney conflict authority. Now, for whatever reason, since that time, we come back at this last year's legislation session. Life happens in Douglas County. All right, so now we're going through this thing that we pay for people fees. Now, you guys, you know, I've shown y'all the historical of my peers, you know, for the past 10 years on how we've taken care of stuff. But we want to act new as if we haven't done this before. I'm like, wait a minute, we pay our bills. What are we talking about? Why are we being convened here? It's like, oh gosh, I get criminal, I get civil, but we paid our bills. But to the county attorney's point, he says, you have an insurance policy, but I would recommend, see where this is coming from, I would recommend you have a policy in place for decisions, because whenever you go beyond your insurance policy, somebody else has to fund it, meaning us to fund balance. God, I will initiate and sponsor this. Blame me. So here I go. We brought this up at the beginning of the year. This is when we had a full board, a full different board. It didn't go. So then we did it again mid-year. Now we're looking at it again. Each time it gets better. So that means this legislation has seen 3 different chairs. 3 different chairs. Be consistent. This was already in play. We're shaping it. We're shaping it. There's different iterations of that. Go do your open record and pull what you want. Go to the metadata. You'll see that this has been iterating over time. And everybody has weighed in on this. So this is nothing that is not new. We have talked about this openly. So again, on that one, we know we need to work through some things. There is some dollar amount. One more time, I'm tying it to the budget. Pay attention. There could be a fiscal impact. Yes, Mr. Chair, you're right. There's a dollar amount that's associated that's there. Come up with a number. We all sit down, y'all pick a number, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. Everybody take one and blend the average, doesn't really matter. We'll come to an agreement, Mr. Chair, that's easy to come up with a number, but the point being is like, right, it has a fiscal impact. Do y'all account for these things? Do we take this out of the legal budget? I mean, we got $1.5 million over there in our legal services. Why are we taking this out of our fund balance when you got $1.5 million over here? Oh boy. Ooh, you ask for conflict, you want to be able to award it to other firms and stuff and parse stuff out. Well, you need to pick that up in your budget. Ooh, Greg, I can find you some money real quick. I got this. Well, I can't wait to get to committee. Pay attention. So there's a fiscal, so they need to be aligned. Your legislation needs to go before, one more time, do not bring that budget before us until we solve this legislation. You don't want to be in the same place you were before. There's a fiscal impact to your legislation that impacts that budget. You got to wait until we do the legislation, then your last act should be the budget. Because it could be something that we don't obligate ourselves through the legislation, a funded mandate. So we need to make sure we got that right, guys. Pay attention to this, act like we're mature. I don't want any mistakes that were what they call unforced errors. I put the ball in your chest and you just fumble at the 1 yard line, right? Nobody hit you. You know, it's important here, like, all right, guys, let's just get this right. So with that being said, there's really, Mr. Chair, there's no real discussion. Does anybody want to weigh in on these 3 topics that I talked about? There is no action. The public can take a look at this, and it'll be on the agenda next time. And the board will take its position, and we'll go from there, sir. I yield. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All right. Next.
Number 17 are proposed policies, resolutions, ordinances regarding commissioner attendance and compliance with sign ordinance and temporary signs. Vice Chair Carthen.
Thank you. The policy that I am proposing is in regards to, well, the first one is in regards to commissioner attendance. I want to preface this by saying this is not directed at any one commissioner, but it is just a policy that we as a Board of Commissioners should have. Other counties have this policy. We would hope that any commissioner that raises their right hand and takes the oath of office would understand that attending meetings is a necessary part of the position. We are a board of 5. If we miss one, it really can stop the Board of Commissioners from doing business, because then you could have a 2-2 vote, which is split, meaning no business will really move. So it's really pertinent that we have our commissioners at our BOC meetings, at our planning and zoning meetings, and any special meetings that the chairman sees fit to call to conduct business on behalf of the county. So this policy is to remind our commissioners that when you decide to take the job, show up for the job. If you decide that you cannot do the job, or for any reason you are not excused from doing the job, then there are penalties. And these penalties come not just from myself, but I did have our county attorney take a look at other Board of Commissioners policies. And so these are in alignment with other counties. The first one is a board member failing to attend 5 regular meetings. That means any planning and zoning meetings, any board meetings, or any special call meetings. If you miss more than 5 in 1 year without excuse, then you will have to, if you don't have an excused absence, these are the penalties for that. The first one will be a verbal censure that will go into the meeting minutes. If you do it again, a written censure. So that means on the 6th one, you will have a written censure. On the 7th missed meeting, you will have removal from any memberships or committees. We sit on various committees throughout the state, and myself, I even sit on national committees. So you will be removed from those committees by the board, and you will receive a letter. And then those committees that you're representing will also get a letter from the Board of Commissioners stating that we have removed you. If you miss 8 meetings, you will get, on the 4th violation, you will get a $500 fine. And let me be very specific. $500 for a Board of Commissioner is almost a whole check. That's almost a 40-hour week. So I will hope we will not get to any of these. But I just want to reiterate how important it is for commissioners to show up for meetings, to show up on behalf of the citizens who have you in that seat. Whether you were elected by those citizens or appointed by an authority, we know the importance of having you there to represent the interests of those who are counting on you. In a year, we may have a completely, totally different board. We don't want the people who are coming in here to take lightly that when you put your name on a ballot and people vote for you, that you have the option to show up or not. So that is why I put this policy in place. I hope my Board of Commissioners have taken a look at it and would agree the importance of showing up to conduct the business of the county and that this will pass. If you have any edits, if you think anything needs to be added to it, or you have any concerns with it, please take time to talk to myself or the county attorney so that we can make any additions or deletions to the bill, the proposed ordinance. The last one is the resolution urging us to enact our sign ordinance. I cannot tell you how many people this election cycle asked me why was it that they could not vote or did not see certain people on their ballot. Because signs have been out since the beginning of the year for people who actually won't be on your ballot until next year. And it's confusing for the public, but not only is it confusing for the public, it's also, it has an impact on how our county looks if you always see these signs everywhere when it's not time for the signs. So this just asks the Board of Commissioners to please be aware that we need to enforce our sign ordinance. And it's just a resolution saying that we will. And if there are any updates or deletions or edits that needs to be put forth with this one, I would hope that you again would get with me or the county attorney in regards to this. And with that, Chairman, I yield.
Thank you. Have we ever had anybody that was on this board miss 5 meetings? I'm just asking. I don't, you know, I totally disagree if they have, you know, or if you miss 1 or 2, I don't like that. But have we ever had anybody?
We have had individuals to miss meetings in the past. Usually they will call and let Clerk Watson know. But if they don't, we're just sitting here. You're just sitting here wondering if they're coming in. Are you not?
Right? Absolutely. But
And if you're wondering if they're coming in and you're waiting around, then we may be at a loss for conducting business. So far, we've always had a quorum. But in order to conduct the business, we really need a board of 5. We don't want a split decision. That then stifles where the county can go in terms of appropriation, in terms of legislation. We cannot have that. If you are an able-bodied commissioner and you've been appointed to this board, or if you've been elected to this board, you need to show up on this board because you're getting a check that says you will do that. You also raised your hand to say that you will be here. So we just want to reiterate that.
no, you may have misunderstood my question. I think maybe I don't think we should wait 5 meetings before we dealt with somebody.
Again, you can edit it if you don't think 5 is the right number. If you think 5 is too much, if you think 5 is too little, please. I encourage all 4 of you to weigh in.
Okay. And the sign ordinance can't we put signs? And I'm against them just like you are. But can't we put signs on our private property, or does the sign ordinance prohibit that in any way?
It does not prohibit that. There's a totally separate ordinance
Okay,
for
so you're talking
private.
about right-of-way signs, basically?
Right-of-way signs and those that are just, out.
Mr. Robinson, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. No, thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Vice Chair, for those legislation. And just for the record, I mean, and again, I'd like to use myself as an example. All right, so I've missed, in 15 years, I missed what? 4 meetings. 2 were eye surgeries. 1 was the death of my father. And one was, I passed out at a board commissioner on the front page of the paper, having a heart attack. It was just an ulcer. But those are 4, and so I guess in those cases, how would we, they were excused, you guys knew. Is that the same as missing meetings? I mean, how, is there, will there be a provision in here that it's an excused absence versus, I just blew it off, I just didn't come? What are we saying regarding that legislation? I guess we'll factor it out. You don't have to solve it, Madam Vice Chair, I already know, but I just, for the record. I just want to make that comment. And the last one is regarding your other legislation dealing with, you want to call it, signs. Now, in 2020, now I get, Ms. Chair, you've been around a long time, and you have bad actors that are out there that take signs. Not just on the corner, your sons, your friends, whatever case, knock over somebody else's sign, put that sign, put my sign in front of you, okay, sign game. But in my case, in 2020, they stole all my signs. All my signs. No, like I said, I like to compete, don't cheat. They got mad because I had my signs, however my sign game was, it irritated somebody, but there's still all my signs on all wherever I put them. That's an issue. That cost me $5,000. I was trying to explain to the county attorney, like, no, you're missing the point. No, that was costly. That had liability associated with it. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm pissed. It's not in the landfill, but I get a little birdie through the judicial. I mean, says, well, you may want to go over there and be able to find that game. You got people who cheat, bad actors. Now, again, there is the First Amendment with signs, unlimited political. We've been here. We went through that then. So there is, but to your point, how we do this right away, I love that legislation, but I just want for the record, there's always another side of the experience, the testimony that goes into things like, well, all I know is they stole all my signs, so I'm the guy that's out there being, running for office. And it cost me. So I should, civilly take somebody to court over that? Like, okay, so who did it? Now I gotta go get fingerprints on signs over there in somebody's warehouse over there in north part of, across the railroad tracks. Bad behavior. There are bad actors. But just for the record, so I'm sure you guys want to think through this legislation. Think beyond just the immediacy of like, okay, now think about everybody that's involved and how this could impact. And it's my First Amendment being censored. I should be able to speak whenever I want to, however I want to. I asked the county commissioner on that one, the county attorney, sorry. Make sure you deal with that First Amendment on that one. Don't allow the vice chair to get out here like, okay, I want the answer to this. I've already told you. And I'm serious, don't let us, because we're in the middle of that season, get that First Amendment right. Mr. Chair, I yield. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vice Chair Carson.
To answer your question, Commissioner Robinson, we do know that there has already been legislation regarding the First Amendment right for those who are putting out signs. So that was taken into consideration when this legislation came forward. I also talked to our code enforcement manager, Russell Tizone. So just to make sure that I was not stepping on any toes legislatively, because I don't want this board to get sued. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then to piggyback to your first question in regards to the penalties or what constitutes missing a meeting. If you are unexcused, if you are excused by the board, it will be for personal accident, injury, illness, an accident, emergency, illness, or injury of an immediate family member, or you have to attend a funeral of an immediate or extended family member. Those are the three excused absences that we put in here. So no, we're not dinging you if you anything outside. Thank you. I yield, Chair.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Dobbs does
Hey,
have
Commissioner
something.
Dobbs. Good afternoon. We can't hear you.
Staff.
Alex is coming up.
Hold on a minute, we're gonna get to you, and thank you for what you're doing. Yes.
Bring up a couple of items regarding the, I had just had a question. Time where there's a couple of points to make. I saw on there I didn't see any mention of like work. This job. Fact, times definitely be type of accountability. Probably change that. Being that the commissioner's jobs become full change because an excuse is doing the regular work. Not really type of accountability. The other part was about the time I asked the question about, but Commissioner I would wonder what gave guidelines. Those.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah. No, I appreciate Commissioner Dobbs' his comments, and to that point, I know Madam Vice Chair probably already has it on there as far as military should be excused just by law as far as that. So hopefully that's as a classification of least notice. But that aside, to the point about full-time, he brings up a good point, Ed. This is sacrificial. You took an oath. It's like, yeah, that'll be a good debate. Like, what should we do with that? Woo. I hear you, Commissioner Dobbs. That's a good one. What should we do? Where's the priority? Is the oath to the people or my full-time job to my family? Can they coexist? You know, does Congress meet after hours? Does the White House have to wait until? How does that work out? How does the General Assembly and the governor do that? What do they do down there? I'd love, this is a good one, so I appreciate the comments, and that's the whole point of the debate. And figure out what provisions can we make some smoothing out. So I look forward to that one, because it actually prompted some stuff within me, like, yeah. But the last thing is to answer your question. I can recall one time in the history, that I can think of others probably, but the one time I remember, I think it was around our 150th birthday, we had a recess and we were supposed to come back, and I remember that Commissioner Mitchell at that time, he's busy, he's got to go to his full time. He's like, look, man, I've been here all day. This is part time. Y'all meeting's taking too long. He had the jet. Madam Carson had a business. Look, I had something to do. It's the first time that three of us like, okay, we got other obligations. We did put the time in, but y'all need to be more efficient about these meetings. So it was not a quorum. So they come back, Madam Guider and Madam Chair was sitting there, and they didn't have a quorum. So they just sat there like, oh, smack. And the meeting was over. So it has happened to me. There was no conducting of the business. It has happened. Rarely. But it has happened, because I can think of that one off the top of my head. Mr. Chair, yield, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Alcaraz.
No, this is good. Because, you know, I'll be honest with you, and I've said this 1,000 times, there's nothing part-time about this position at all. I hear this so much from the public and from many of my constituents, and everyone refers to this, well, you know, it's just a part-time job. There is nothing, absolutely nothing part-time about this job. Had to learn it the hard way. You got to make adjustments. I had to, I own a business, so I had to make those adjustments to be here during those meeting times. That's something I think is very, very important. If you want to run for this position, you need to know these things, because when it comes to reality, if you do have a full-time job somewhere else, there's a lot of time you got to sacrifice. There's meetings you have to attend. You're going to get invited to everything under the sun. You can say no. You got to sometimes say, I've learned to say no so I can actually have a family time. But in regards to my duties in this position, I didn't really realize it was like this until I stepped into it. But I'm glad I did. I'm doing what I was sworn in to do. But that is something I think is very important for those who wish to run in the future. You need to understand, if you have a full-time job, this is going to require you to make some sacrifice from your full-time job. And I just hope that those people understand that. But in regards to the signs, I did have some comments, but Chairman answered a couple of those for me. But that's all I want to say, Chairman, and I yield.
Good luck.
To close this out, Commissioner Dobbs, I do recognize that you have a full-time job. I do too, and I think Commissioner Alcaraz does as well. And there will probably be others who will put their names on the ballot and who may get elected that have full-time jobs, because this does not pay well. We all know that, right? You do not get into this to make money. However, if one sacrifices to be here, I think all has to sacrifice. I'm not sure if this board would take up making district commissioners full-time. I've not ever proposed that. I've not ever had any conversation with any of my board members present or past to talk about making commissioners full-time. If that is something that you would like to take up, then I would suggest you would get with the chair, the county administrator, and the county attorney to propose that type of legislation. But it is noted that you are in the military, and so we will, I just nodded to Attorney Coleman to include that. I was thinking that would be included in emergency, but to your point, we will put that into the legislation so it specifically includes military as well. Thank you. And with that, I yield.
Anyone else? I think there's two types of full-time jobs, and I think the vice chair and Commissioner Alcaraz, I think they both own their own companies and they're both their own boss. I know that Mr. Dobbs is a school teacher at Douglas County High School, and he has to make sacrifices as far as that's concerned, and he has to adjust his schedule differently in order to do that job and in order to do this. One option is to change hours, and I'm sure that everybody don't want to be up here at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's a family time. But I am told, and I have heard, that people in the community would love for us to do that so that more people who work could come here and participate in our government process. But those are just things that are thrown out there for people to think about, but those are certainly options. But I agree that we all should be here. I agree that this is a tremendous responsibility, and I've been in government for 40 years or more, and it's a tough job, and it's, like you said, Mark, it's a lot more than I bargained for. But having said all that, if there's nothing else, Attorney Coleman, do we need to go into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, we do need to go into executive session today to discuss real estate, litigation, and personnel.
Okay. All right.
I move that we go into executive session for litigation, real estate, and personnel.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be consistent, so we're going back to a normalized personnel, real estate, litigation. Why are we going into executive session? Why aren't we being more granular and specific? We'll be consistent. I'm going to point out, see how it moves, y'all? Listen to the public. Look how things move. We're convenient. I'm okay. Use your language. I get First Amendment, but I'm showing the consistency when we choose to push things. We like to push things, and it's that part. It's sort of the disparities in things, the variances of movement. You want to bring attention to stuff, and I whether it's subconscious, unconscious, conscious, involuntary, voluntary, it just becomes like intentional, unintentional. It just becomes like, okay, guys, again, my job is oversight. My job is to monitor, like, okay, now why am I awarding contracts? Why am I agreeing? Are you doing what should be done? Our expectation is oversight, about being consistent, being committed, not just lip service. That memory is long. I yield, Mr. Chair. We're good.
Thank you. All in favor? All opposed? We will now adjourn the work session and move into executive session. Thank you all for coming.